All right, YouTube. So today we're going to work on fixing the damper, the mixer damper that controls the cool or hot air for the driver's side versus the passenger side, right? So when you're working it, right, you can certainly change the temperature. So the symptom that I have is the AC works, the passenger side blows nice and cold. However, the driver's side does not. It blows pretty warm. So clearly there's cold air being produced, so that's great news. We're not going to cover an AC video yet. But the damper motor is likely not working, but we're going to test it. I'm going to take you through how to test it. The damper motor and switch for the driver's side is right under here. And basically the mirror of that, if you're going to end up doing this on the passenger side, if you're having the same symptoms, is right under here. So you can really use the procedures we're going to go through today to fix either side. So let's get into it. All right, so we need to remove this panel, right? So which means that we're going to take this panel off. You likely have a screw here. Mine is missing, but once this screw comes out, that just pops out. There's also the little floor light. This guy just pulls out of this little hole, right? So you don't even have to disconnect him, right? Rotates out. That's the guy that's on all the time, gives you a little vision to your footwell. All right, so our mixer motor is right up in here. All right, there he is. To get a little better access, you can pull this panel. I already disconnected. It just pulls off, right? You don't need to do anything else special. Pops out of there. Just pull away. And now, this is our mixer. In fact, you can see if I can get a little better angle, there's the arm that actuates the mixer. All right, so I'm not sure what yours had. Mine had 3 screws. 2 easy to get to on the bottom, right? And then 1 that was up here that I had to get a little stubby to get on. It wasn't too bad. And so now we have the actuator out, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to test the actual damper. And let's make sure that it moves freely and that it's not caught. And in fact, yep, mine moves without issue. Right. All right, so I've got my motor unscrewed, but I've got it plugged in, right? And so now you can turn the car on and see if the motor moves, right? And I would recommend doing this. It's very easy to get to before you actually buy any parts. So in my case, it actually moves just fine. Okay, we're on max cold. Now we're gonna go, right? So we're watching this little white arm. Now we're gonna go all the way hot. Let's see what happens. I'm pushing it all the way to hot. Okay, we got some movement. Let's go to cold. What do we have here? And so I have a different problem. So if you have a blending issue, right, this is the first thing to check, right? Easy to take out, easy to check, easy to replace. And the other side is almost exactly the same, right? So you'll find them in the same spot. Mine, I believe, is actually a freon problem. So I think I have slightly low freon. So even when I check, so once this is out of the way, I can actually move the arm. Okay, let me see if I can get a better view of it, right? So here's the arm, right? And so one thing I want to check is that it freely moves throughout its range of motion, and it does, right? So all the way up is heat, all the way down is cold. And so sure enough, right, if I lift it up like this and I have the car running, that blows very hot air out, right, as it should. And then this blows the same lukewarm air when the other side is blowing cold. But I have noticed that it's been a little bit intermittent, what was strange. So next up, I'm gonna check the freon. All right, so even if you don't know what you're doing with AC, and I'm not gonna get into that in this video, I want you to see something, right? So right here in the front, this is your high side. And one of the nice things is that Toyota and Lexus included a sight glass. A lot of cars don't have this anymore, but as we get in close, this should not be cloudy. And the fact that this is cloudy and has bubbles in it means that I'm low on freon, right? So I'm gonna put a little bit more freon in here. I'm not going to cover AC work in this video or on YouTube because I think that requires some supervision and really, frankly, training by a qualified professional. And I'm not going to attempt to give you that over YouTube. You can probably find that somewhere else. But this is an indication that you have low freon, and you can take this to a professional and have this serviced. So next up, I'm not going to stop here though. I'm going to add freon to the vehicle until this clears up and my gauges read right, and then we'll check and see if that resolves the issue. So interestingly enough, that solved the problem, right? So now, let's see. Yeah, low on freon. Oh boy, that is cold. Oh, that's cold. All right, there we go. And that has no bubbles, which is the key. So final recap, this guy is still not even installed, right? So the cold position is essentially the default disconnected position where it falls down, right? So that's where you can leave it if you want to check, right? So that's what we're talking about here. So it ended up being the case that my air dampener is fine, and all I needed was some freon. So I'll see if I can find some videos that folks do a good job of teaching about AC and freon. I know about it, but I'm not ready to teach that on YouTube. So I think that's a whole nother discussion. But the good news is, what I'd hope to arm you with today is diagnosing and checking that the air dampener is or isn't your problem. And now we know that low freon can be a symptom of having the driver's side not blow warm. So that's a pretty interesting thing on the GX. So there we go. And how to check the freon, right? So on a GX, this little sight glass should be crystal clear inside, right? But if you see clouds or bubbles, then you're a little low on freon, right? If you see a lot, you're a lot low on freon, and that's a good way for you to know what's going on, even if you need to take it to somebody who can help you with your AC. Hope this helps, guys, and I'll talk to you next time. So I'll add one thing onto this too. So basically she was about a pound low, right? So, or a can low, right? So it's not actually a pound, it's only 12 ounces, but so it was about a can low is where she was. That may or may not be the case for you, but I was about a can low, and I got that kind of symptom, right, where the driver's side wasn't blowing cold. So interesting, and there was a fix, right, not the dampener. Give you a little pro tip when you're putting this back in. Notice that little tab, right? So he fits in to this little holder right here. That's what he's for, right? You likely won't have this green wire. That's an extra power wire I added from a different video, but so in case you're wondering what that is, but slip that in there, and then you should be able to line everything up and snap it in.